Many of us are saying, say it ain't so, Justin. But according to the Prime Minister, he is going to stick around for the next federal election. Hello, I'm Adrienne Batra. With me are Brian Lilley and Warren Kinsella. I know, Warren, that may be unfair to say, but Justin Trudeau says, hey, I'm sticking it out. If the election is October 2025, if it's October 2024, I'm here. But what's interesting, and while he's saying this, there are Liberals around his cabinet table that are fundraising around him. What's going on?
Brian's going to laugh at me. Okay. He's going to laugh at me because I'm up and down the toilet seat on this subject. But I now believe again, Trudeau is leaving. I believe he's leaving. Maybe not. Okay. My prediction had been, because it's the 40th anniversary of his father taking the fabled walk in the snow next week.
Yeah,
right?
well, I'm just looking at the
years.
weather in Ottawa right now to see, is it going to snow next week? We don't know if Justin's going to be in Ottawa, but what's the weather forecast for the 29th? No, it's looking like it's going to be pretty warm. And
So he's going to take a walk in the slush.
or the rain.
Like,
the
but
light rain.
I think he's going to go, guys. Seriously, because he's not totally dumb. You know, he can read a poll like anybody else. He's 20 points behind Poilievre. I saw one seat model, and I know they're voodoo science, saying that Poilievre was going to get the biggest majority in Canadian history. So, like, you know, Trudeau doesn't want to be the guy who gets blamed for putting the Liberal Party in the wilderness for 15 years. So I think he's going to go. And I think some of his cabinet ministers do too, because some of them are apparently out there fundraising.
Okay, so Brian, Warren is sticking to Team Trudeau is staying.
Yeah.
I think
No,
you
going.
and
He's going.
Yeah.
oh, excuse me, that he's going. Excuse me. That you and I kind of go back and forth on this too. I think he is staying, but I want to talk about what's going on around him. So he's in Alberta to probably once again chastise Premier Daniel Smith for take your pick. But then while this is going on, he says to the media, I'm sticking around, I'm fighting this out, rah, rah, me. And literally in his own, and behind him, Sean Fraser, Canada's housing minister, Canada's failed housing minister, is doing a massive fundraiser in Alberta, in Calgary, raising all that oil money that apparently the Liberals don't like. But what's going on there?
This is what leadership campaigns look like. You've got to get out there and dip your toe in the water. And so, yeah, Sean Fraser holding a $500 a person fundraiser, not for himself, not for his leadership bid, for his Central Nova riding. That's in the middle of Nova Scotia. A little far from Alberta, but he had a bunch of people come out and raise money for him, all Albertans, developers, former politicians, people like that. So, yeah, he's not alone. Mark Carney is out there testing the waters. Francois-Philippe Champagne. I'm not sure who else. You know, we've heard the names, Anita Anand and Melanie Joly. Not sure if they're actually organizing, but things are happening with people saying, I'm going to be ready in case Trudeau goes. I still think that Trudeau wants to stick around. I think he wants to fight Poilievre. He's arrogant enough to believe that despite the 20-point difference, he can do it. And he is, while he was in Alberta this week, he was warning again against the politics of anger, fear, and division, while getting really angry and sowing fear about right-wing politicians. I couldn't believe how many times he got angry, and he was just doing exactly what he warns against. It's hilarious to watch.
Oh,
So let me defend
ahead.
defend Justin Trudeau. Okay, so just get out your smelling salts. So, like, in fairness to Trudeau, like every prime minister who preceded him, you can't give even a hint that you're thinking about leaving, because the second you do that, your power evaporates. It's over, right? Nobody pays attention to you anymore. So he can't say anything. He can't get any indication. And I know the Poilievre caucus desperately want him to remain because it's back to the drawing board if he leaves. But I think we're going to find out the last minute. War story. When Chrétien said he was leaving in 2003, I was surfing in Maine with my kids. Like, I had no idea it was coming, and I was one of his guys. And I talked to him the day he made his announcement, the long goodbye, and he said, "Yeah, I couldn't tell any of you guys because it would leak." And so, we'll have fun for the next 18 months, which we did. So, a prime minister can't say, a president can't say they're leaving, because as soon as they do, their power is gone.
Yeah, they can become a lame duck. There's no question about that, Brian. I don't think that we could disagree with that notion. But it seems to me that for a party that has basically built themselves around one brand, and that's the Trudeau brand, it's going to be very difficult for them to move away from that. Say it is Mark Carney continues to fundraise. Say Melanie Joly is out there, which is terrifying in of itself because she's such a terrible foreign affairs minister. But say they are out there, these other liberals, how are they going to, tear themselves away from what clearly is the biggest albatross hanging around the Liberal Party's neck, and that's Justin Trudeau?
It's going to be difficult. Look, to a degree, every prime minister, every leader brands the party in their own image, but not to the degree that Justin Trudeau has. When Chrétien was in charge, it was definitely Jean Chrétien's Liberal Party, and it was different than its predecessors. But he still had Team Canada approach. He had a cabinet around him that actually had strong ministers, and he would brand his campaign as a team. When Paul Martin got in, it became Team Martin. I remember Liberal logos disappearing from campaign literature, and it was all about Team Martin. You remember that, Warren?
How'd that work out?
Yeah, Juggernaut. Ask Susan Delacourt. Juggernaut. It was a great book. The Trudeau guys have taken it a step further. They don't even call it a party anymore. They call it a movement, and it is a movement. It is a movement that is based on a cult of personality around one guy and one guy only. And so, how do you wash that away and say, okay, we're new and improved now with more Mark Carney? I don't know how that works. You've got to do a complete rebrand. And, the only person that we've mentioned who wouldn't have Trudeau hanging around his neck is Mark Carney. But he's a giant gift to the Conservatives. You want to have a guy who spent most of his career outside of Canada, working for global banks, then running to global national banks and working for the UN. This guy is a gift. He'd make Michael Ignatieff look like a serious contender.
Well, they might have to resurrect that just visiting moniker against him.
Yeah, Carney is a lot like Ignatieff, but with a pocket calculator. And, it's hard to say that you love a country when you've been living outside of it for many years. And he's one of those guys who has a tendency to use a $30 word when a $3 word would suffice, and, kind of talks over people. I have no doubt that in a debate about the economy, if it was, run by economists, Carney would kick Poilievre's ass, like, without a doubt. He knows more about economics than any of us will ever know. But that's not how you're supposed to communicate in politics. You're supposed to reach people at a level they can understand. And I just don't think he knows how to talk to your average Joe Schmo from Kokomo.
Well, quick story. When he was bank governor and I was parliamentary bureau chief for News Talk 1010, I would have to go to the news conferences during the economic crisis. And after he was done saying everything to the business crowd that was there, say, Mr. Carney, can you speak like for normal people? and eventually get an answer. So he can do it when prompted and reminded, but you're right. His natural inclination is to speak well above everyone else's heads.
Well, Justin Trudeau says he's staying, but his Liberal colleagues, their actions would appear that they want him to go. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and go to the TorontoSun.com. You're going to find commentary and coverage there you will not find anywhere else.